The poison tree. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath. My wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles and soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. I first heard this poem, admittedly, while I was watching an episode of The Originals. It was read by Niklaus when he was certain his family was turning against him and all he had was anger. This was the perfect poem for Klaus, almost as if it was written for him. Now you might think you understand exactly what William Blake was trying to convey back in 1794. Simultaneously, you might be wondering how this could possibly have anything to do with what's happening in the community today. So let's dive deeper into Blake's meaning behind the poison tree. In the first stanza, Blake lays out two equal scenarios with two different outcomes. The first, he states he's angry with his friend, so he tells his friend he's upset, and the wrath, or his anger, leaves. In the second scenario, in that stanza states that he was angry with his foe, but didn't tell him, causing his anger to fester and grow. This stanza speaks on the relationship of trust and fear. We trust our friends, so we're able to tell them when we are upset or that they've hurt us, without the fear of being abandoned or persecuted. However, to tell an enemy, for lack of a less dramatic term, these things would lead to possible rejection and or pain and suffering. So we don't trust an opponent well enough to voice our concerns. So the anger grows because it has no outlet. And because you didn't voice your concern, it leaves the situation or slight unresolved. But more than that, the offending party continues the same offending behavior. Moving on to the second stanza, Blake writes, "And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles, and with soft, deceitful wiles." This stanza holds a lot of metaphorical thought. All of his fears and worries and fake smiles to his enemy and deceitfulness were buried in the ground, a symbolic representation of burying one's anger, which caused his poison tree to grow, thus creating a way to deliver vengeance upon his perceived offender. But here's where we look at what Blake is really saying. At this point in the poem, we're seeing a change in the anger, going from wrath to fear and worry, and moving on to deceitfulness as a way to trap the enemy and lull him into a sense of safety, thus utterly changing the speaker in the poem as he too becomes poisoned and tarnished by his own tree. Blake is not writing of self-destructive anger or even hate, because sometimes those are necessary, but rather he speaks against a righteous contempt that leads to corruption through anger and causes one to lose their moral standing. Finally, the last two stanzas speak of a garden, a tree, and an apple. And this should, of course, sound familiar to you. He had originally titled this work Christian Forbearance. Of course, he decided to go against this due to his own distrust of Christian forbearance. He hated the cowardice of refusing to stand up to one's enemies, but instead letting that anger grow and become underhanded, all in the name of Christianity. So he changed the name. However, these last two stanzas, while referencing the Bible, also speak to how this anger has corrupted the speaker. He grew a tree with a poison apple, lied to his foe to trick him into eating the apple, and thus killing his enemy from its poison. On my never ending journey to better myself, I heard a quote that says, being angry at someone is like drinking poison and waiting for them to die. Of course, this refers as well to the inward turning of anger and wrath, which can poison one from the inside out. This is a difficult time for us all, but as every moment is a teaching moment and we've currently been handed a proverbial stack of research, we really shouldn't let this moment pass us by. Don't become a slave to your anger and let someone else's existence dictate your day. Let's ignore the hate, ignore the anger, and stave off any chance of contaminating ourselves with our own poison trees. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this made as much sense to you as it did to me. 안녕.